Welcome back to another episode of the Retrocrappod podcast, where each month we continue our search for the best bad movies on the planet Earth. I am your host, Aaron, and I am joined, as always, by Matt.
Nice. Hey.
Hi.
Whoa. Yow.
Bazinga.
Did see that coming.
I don't know. You were making noises. I wanted to
That
be
was
included.
No, that's fair. This is a strange start to what feels like a strange Sunday in a strange land.
Matt, we are living in unprecedented times again.
Yeah, is it again or is it still?
Is it
just
still?
feels like the,
I don't know. Kill for some fucking precedents. That's all I know.
It's the kind of time where it's like if you did see someone on the street, with a cardboard sign that was like "the time is nigh," you'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You just give them an
We all
approving
know
nod.
that.
Like, yes, it is, sir. Thank you for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got that covered already. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that didn't see, I put a post on Instagram, but if those that haven't been watching the news or paying attention, there's been like a crazy flood where we live.
Mm-hmm.
So much flooding, because the area that the highway is built on, in between the city that I live in and the city that you live in, used to be a lake. And then white people came along and they were like, this lake is impeding progress. Let's drain it. And it's been drained since like the early 1900s. Like that, 1920s maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So,
yeah.
like, if there wasn't this lake here, we could put up farms. So, I mean, they did that, and we, grow a lot of food here, which I guess is good too. But
yeah, I didn't actually know
Yeah.
before the flood, but that the area that is now flooded apparently supplies 50% of BC's like dairy and eggs and chicken.
Yeah. So there's shortages of all of those things right now.
Yep, big time.
Because you can't get in or out of there without a boat. Although they did open the floodgates, I think, yesterday, and so the water's starting to drain back out into the river. But yeah,
That's
crazy times. We put up a post on Instagram, just sort of saying like, one, we won't be able to record our episode as soon as we thought, because we were gonna do it last weekend, and then while we were watching the movie, your basement started to flood a little bit.
Yep.
Which,
and it continued to get worse throughout the entire day.
Yeah. So we were like, it would be awkward to record now. And like also pretty irresponsible.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, cool. We'll just we'll do it next weekend. You can come over to my place. We'll record over here. And then nope. Just more rain happened, and yeah, and then literally they had to close the highway because it was a lake.
Yeah.
Which is nuts. So
it's funny to say they had to close the highway. It's like, no, the highway was closed.
The highway, in a way, closed itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
They didn't close the highway. But yeah. I'm assuming someone put up a little barrier saying like, road closed due to lake.
Due to the lake behind this sign that you can see.
Road ends in the lake. Yeah. So we are doing a classic remote record right now.
Yeah, blast from the past.
Yeah, we thought we were done with it, but here we are. We're doing the old Skype record. So that's fun. But we're safe, we're dry. So that's what's important. And we put up a post on Instagram with link to it's in our linktr link as well, if people are able to help out the disaster relief fund. They can go there and do that. And if you do, and if you send us a DM with a photo of your receipt of your donation, we'll send you our Rise of Skywalker commentary track that we recorded, which is a Patreon exclusive otherwise.
Good times.
Just a way to say thanks for helping out our community. So yeah. That is the business up top. Shall we get into the show now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about some stuff.
taking care of the business at hand. What have you seen?
Well, I've been going to the theater lately and seeing theater movies. Feels
Nice.
good. It's a lot of fun. We do in this podcast like to keep up to date with all things Marvel, so I feel it would be
Love
apropos
Marvel. Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
about Eternals.
I went and saw Eternals last week, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
week before, whenever it came out. I don't know. Went and saw that. What did you think?
Honestly, I thought it was fun.
Yeah,
It didn't feel terribly much like this is another Marvel movie. It felt pretty different.
it did
Um
feel different. Yeah,
which like I remember last time we talked about Shang-Chi and we were like this didn't feel like a Marvel movie. It felt different and that was a really positive thing.
yeah.
With this one, I don't know, it didn't feel as much of a positive thing, but it was still at least interesting to me to watch.
That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm like, I was like, it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie, which is good, but it also, I don't know that I liked anything that was done in it.
Well, woof.
Like anything that was different in it. I mean, there were things I liked. I felt like it was a bit bloated.
Hmm.
And that's probably due to the amount of characters that it had to work with.
Yeah, I honestly thought a lot more of them were gonna. I mean, spoilers for Eternals. Just saying, I
Yeah,
thought
I'll
a
put
lot
some
more of
spoilers
them.
in.
Yeah, I thought many more of them were gonna get killed off. That they were gonna like pare down the Eternals to a certain amount and then kind of dig into their characters a little bit more. Um,
But they're Eternals. They can't die. They have to be in the movie forever.
some of them die. My favorite one died.
Yeah,
Go figure.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
always
always your
if there's
favorite
like a
one.
group of people and you're like, ooh, I really like that one.
They're
Ah, they're
gonna
gonna
die.
die. That's
Yeah, no,
classic.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't like have a lot of knowledge of the Eternals going into the movie. Like I know that
Same,
they
yeah.
were like created by Jack Kirby when he came back to Marvel from DC, and so that's why there's a lot of like, you know, uh Athena is kind of just Wonder Woman and Icarus is kind of just Superman, and
Hmm.
um there's a little bit of like uh DC uh archetypes that he's using when he created those characters, and there's the super
Right.
fast one. Um yeah, I almost wonder if like I would have been more interested in this movie if it had just taken place in like ancient Babylon or something like that.
Hmm.
Um cuz
Those were some of the most interesting parts, hey?
those were the bits that I thought was the most interesting, and then anytime they kept getting back to like the plot, I was sort of just like, I don't really, it's like we're watching them get the band back together, but we're also watching the band come apart at the same time. There's like two. I don't know. I thought the pacing was kind of weird, and yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of
It's
tough,
hard.
right?
It's hard to put my finger on like what exactly I didn't like about it, but just like
Mm-hmm.
coming out of it, I was sort of just like, ah,
Hmm.
eh.
I will say, like, I really don't look up movies before going to watch them. I like to know as little about them as possible and just kind of watch it from a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't intentionally look out anything about Eternals, but I did see like a headline for an article that was like something along the lines of Eternals is the worst rated MCU movie ever. And I was like, oh, that sucks. That sounds bad. But then I watched the movie and I was like, that doesn't seem fair at all.
No.
And then afterward, I went and read the article and it was just like, so many really bad reviews for this movie that was fine. And especially when you're like, "Oh, it's the worst MCU movie ever." Like we talk about the MCU quite a bit on this podcast, and you have specifically warned me not to watch one of the movies at all, and I still haven't because
Is
it's
it
so
Thor: The
bad.
Dark World?
That's the one.
Yeah, it's bad.
I
It's
still haven't
horrible.
seen it because I've been
It's
told it's so
atrocious.
bad. And
Never watch
I
it.
I feel like if you were to tell me to never watch Eternals, I'd be like, that's an overreaction.
No, I wouldn't say never watch Eternals. But I would say that like it's probably okay to go to the bathroom during Eternals and not pause it.
Okay. I guess that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. And it's kind of
Part
sad
of it
too,
was
though.
it did feel kind of long. Um,
It was a bit long. That's true.
I liked a lot of like I think it looks really good. I think like because like Chloe Zhao obviously she just won the Academy Award for Best Director and Best Picture last year.
That's right.
Um,
And it
which she
was
hadn't done when she
gorgeous.
started filming this movie. But like Nomadland is a gorgeous looking movie, and going into Eternals, like you can definitely see that here. And I remember when the first trailer came out, people were like, "Oh my god, look at this! It looks so good. Why does it look so good?" And she's like, "Cinematography."
Yeah. It was a visually stunning movie. Absolutely.
She's like,
It
"I
was
found
gorgeous.
a nice landscape, and I waited till the light was good, and then I shot the film." And in like a real location. It looks good because it's not a bunch of people standing against a green curtain, and then they just like put a gray background in the background and a bunch of smoke in the foreground so you can't see what's happening like every other movie.
Yep.
Which is what the other thing that I really liked about this is I liked that the end didn't turn into that. The end is like on like a nice brightly lit beach, and you can like see
Yeah.
everything that's going on, and like the camera work is great and the cinematography is great. So um yeah, I think there's like lots of positive takeaways uh from this movie. There's like a really normalized healthy gay relationship.
Yes, and like honestly, like, there was a lot about this movie that was like really intentionally inclusive.
Yeah.
And like we got a gay kiss. I don't know if that's happened in the MCU or really
I'm
much in
trying to
Disney at all.
think if we've had a
Um,
gay kiss in the MCU. I don't know if we have. There was the very, very brief lesbian kiss at the end of Rise of Skywalker that they cut out for the Chinese release. Um,
oh, that's okay. Yeah, that was
um,
very brief, but
yeah, so it's
wow, they
too
cut that out for
bad.
the Chinese release. That sucks.
Yeah, and then I think in the Beauty and the Beast live action movie, which I haven't seen, but like it's hinted at that the guy that plays Gaston's friend is like has the hots for.
Le Few or something like that.
Yeah, they're like he's French, we can make him gay, but then not tell anybody or do anything about it. But we'll just
Oh,
tell
that's right. Yeah,
people.
I heard about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think I
right.
don't think they did. Again, I didn't see the movie, but from what I understand, there was like nothing in the movie that like really indicates that he's gay. But then in like the press junket, they were like, "Oh yeah, and also he's gay.
I think yeah. Well, there's
He's
like
gay for Gaston."
I remember
And
in the cartoon, like
yeah,
the wardrobe like eats someone and then spits them back out, and they're like wearing feminine clothing and they have makeup on and everything. I think what happens in the movie is that gets done to that character, LeFew, or I can't remember the name exactly. But then they're kind of like, oh, they're kind of into it.
oh, that's it.
And then there
Okay,
might be a scene at the end where they're dancing with a man. I think that might happen. I think I saw a clip of that, but it was like very not
yeah,
overt.
okay, yeah. But anyways, yeah, no, Eternals. So like a big step forward for inclusivity there, which I liked a lot. Um, but like, yeah, I don't know. There's just it's hard to put my finger on what exactly about the movie just wasn't doing it for me. But and so I do kind of want to see it again for that reason, just to be like what works and what doesn't. I like the character of Cersei. I like the character of Sprite.
Mm.
Um, I think the romantic relationships didn't work for me, like between Cersei and Icarus, and then like Sprite's been in love with Icarus forever, but because she's in the body of a child, she's like, we can't, which like I get why like optically you wouldn't want to do that in a movie,
Correct.
but like in reality they're like 5,000 years old.
Yeah, that was one thing I was really
So like
wondering about after the movie is like they are Sprite is trapped in the body of a child,
yeah.
but is it that they are whatever 5,000 years old and like 5,000 years matured and they're trapped in the body of an adolescent, or are they
That's what
forever an adolescent? Because throughout the movie, Sprite does make like rash and childish decisions.
yeah, I took it to be like they sort of begin with a certain level of maturity. Like you see them come out of the pods when the whatever fucking Agamemnon or the whatever the celestial, what was his name? Agathoth?
Mm, no, that doesn't sound right.
No. But he's got a stupid name, like a stupid H.P. Lovecraft name. Um, so whatever. He like wakes them up. And he's like, I got a mission for you. It's Earth. Go kill all the deviants. Blah blah blah. And she's like, hey, I'm Cersei, and he's like, hey, I'm Icarus. Like, oh, cool. Hey, we're hot. We're two hot people that are hot for each other. Um, and like they seem to have like just become sentient at that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, and you learn later that like they're actually probably millions of years old. They just keep having their memories wiped every time they do this on a different planet, kind of thing. So I
Hmm.
don't know if Sprite is like eternally adolescent or if like physically yes, but like mentally I don't. I took it to be like no, they have like 5,000 years of maturity because like the other characters all seem to grow and change over the course of the movie. So like it wouldn't make sense for just Sprite to be like an eternal hormonal teenager.
Yeah, I mean that was my original thought too, but then just like they do make what came across to me as like somewhat infantile decisions throughout the plot,
Yeah.
which really and their whole thing is that they really wanted to be able to grow up. And
Yeah.
so I couldn't tell like is that just physically or is it like they have not been able to develop this whole time, which is way more tragic.
Yeah, I always took it as if it was just physically, but it's a good point. Okay, so my partner's sitting on the couch listening to our podcast as we're recording this uh because again, we couldn't make it to the studio. So we just have to do this how we're doing it. So they're itching to chime in. So I'm gonna sort of bring up what they just said, which is so the because Sprite is like eternally in the body of a child, likely she would be like treated like a child all the time by everyone.
Hmm.
And so like therefore it would be like very frustrating to be constantly treated like a child, but then also just like hard to mature if like you're constantly being talked down to and treated like a child. Is that kind of, did I get your point across good? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So like maybe there's a bit of that.
It's complex for sure
It is complex. And like I
and
think
sad.
that's it is, and it is sad, and I think like that's why like her arc is to like become human. Um and like the saddest thing about it, she becomes human, then she like has to go to school
Oh yeah, that's right. That was
at the
funny.
very end. And it's like, dude, she's like lived history. She doesn't
Yep.
need to go to school. She knows about ancient Babylon. She was there. So yeah.
But in some ways she's also very much like a homeschooled child. And so it's like, yeah, she should go to school to learn how to interact with her
there
peers
is
as she
there
grows
was
up.
so many homeschool vibes from
Yes, big
Sprite.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also a good point. Social education is also important. Anyways, yeah. Eternals is strange. It kind of almost feels like a DC movie more than a Marvel movie in some ways. Like I know Chloe Zhao said like she really likes Zack Snyder's DC movies and like used I think because it's the archetypes were Superman and Wonder Woman and that sort of
Hmm.
thing. So I think it makes sense to kind of like look at those movies and be like, oh, okay, um, this is how you make a movie about these types of characters. But it's weird, but I don't think I can say don't watch it.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
Like
I would still tell people to watch it.
yeah, I didn't like I'm sitting here going like I didn't really enjoy it too much, or as much as I would have liked. But at the same time, I'm like I do kind of want to watch it again because I
Yeah, that's
am
fair.
curious. And I watched Shang-Chi again, because it's on Disney Plus now. So I checked that out again, and I'm like, you know what? This I think I was a little too harsh on this movie
Oh
up
yeah.
front. Like I liked it, and I think one of the things I said like the biggest detractor for me was like I didn't see like auteur voice
Oh yeah, I remember you saying that.
in the movie, and I think I think I still would like to see it a bit more. But watching it again, I'm like, no, you know what? This is there's a lot of really really great stuff in here, and the worst part about the movie is that it ends with the hero fighting the villain on a big gray background with lots of smoke in the foreground, and it's like I just want to like kick whoever is on the like environment design team at Marvel. Just like give him a big old kick in the ass and be like, just think of something. Think of literally anything other than a big gray background with lots of smoke in the foreground.
Didn't Disney greenlight a Shang-Chi sequel? Is that gonna happen? Do you know?
Oh, probably. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Because
Um
I would love to. I would love to watch another one of those.
it's made so much money. I think it's the highest grossing movie of the year.
Ooh.
Um or at least it was for a while. Like it topped the box office for a long time, and that was like just as we were coming out of pandemic, nobody can go to the movies kind of thing. So then movie
Right.
theaters are still at, half capacity or whatever in a lot of places. So it was like number one at the box office for 4 weeks or something like that. So
Oof.
it's definitely getting a sequel, and the character will be back in other movies. So yeah.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Um, other than that, let's dive into what we're actually here to discuss. I think, unless you had anything else you wanted to bring to the class.
It's tough because like the intro has gone on long enough that I feel like we should get into the movie, but also I do really want to talk about another movie that I've watched.
All right, yeah, 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 do it. What did you see?
Oh baby, Dune.
Oh yeah, I saw Dune. Okay.
Oh. Whereas Eternals might have felt like it was a bit too long, Dune was very long, and I just wanted it to keep going. I just wanted to
Yes.
keep watching it so bad.
Well, because it stops halfway through the book.
I know. And like at this point, we have
Okay, Dune spoilers. Also, it's been out since the '60s. You could have read it by now, but whatever. Dune spoilers.
yep. But also I would never blame anyone for not reading it. It's dense as hell. But this is the third iteration of Dune that I've seen because there was the movie from the 80s. Was it anything like that?
1984, David Lynch. Yeah.
Yeah, the David Lynch one. And then there was, I don't remember if it was a movie or if it was a mini series, but there was another version of Dune. That was actually the first version I saw.
Miniseries on Sci-Fi. Yeah, that was the first version I saw too. I think
Yeah,
I
there we
saw it
go.
at your house.
Oh, yeah, probably. And so this was the third iteration of Dune. So it was really, really interesting to see it told again, but in just like a really different way. And just extremely beautiful.
Yeah.
And the sound design and the music were
Yes.
phenomenal. I was
Hans
blown
Zimmer.
away.
Like when I saw that Hans Zimmer was doing the music for Dune, I was like, oh fuck, here we go.
That's what I thought too. Cuz like he's kind of an archetype now, but
It's just here comes the drums. He's
but
gonna do the
never
drums.
never before has Hans Zimmer's heavy-handed percussion section fit a movie so well.
It's true. I was like, there's gonna be the drums, and then there's gonna be the swelling horns, and then, but like he added in like there's a lot of vocals in the score, and there's a lot
Yep.
of
There's a really interesting,
yeah.
really good vocalist. I can't remember her name offhand. And then yeah, and then like there's definitely themes for different peoples. And like
Yeah, he
the
wrote
house
melodies.
the House Atreides theme comes in and it's played on the bagpipes, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
whoa, I didn't see that coming, and it fits really, really well. And yeah, I was just so impressed.
Denis Villeneuve is the best filmmaker in Hollywood right now, man. It's just how it is. And
Seems that way.
even though his movies, like I think Dune is doing pretty well, but like Blade Runner did not do very well at all. Critically it did, but like financially it didn't. But somehow he was
Mm.
still able to be like, "Can you give me $150 million to make June?" And they were like, "All right, you crazy French Canadian bastard, here you go. Do it. Make Dune. See what happens. You like it? Go to make it excellent. Here you go. Here's Dune. It's only half though. You want other half? You need to give me 150 more $1 million." And they were like, "Fuck, fine."
Because
There was
it's
this whole
so
thing.
good.
It seemed like they were trying to sabotage that movie from the get-go. Like they released it a day early on HBO Max because they were doing that like day and date, like it's coming out on streaming and in theaters at the same time. All of the Warner Brothers movies this year, you know.
Oh yeah.
Um, and you know they were like, Dune's coming out a day early on streaming, and it's like, oh, you guys just trying to kill the box office for this so you don't have to make another one. And it didn't work. Like by Monday, they were like, "Yeah, Dune Part 2's coming. Fine,
'Cause it's
fine."
so good.
It's
It's
so good.
so good.
Um,
Ah,
although I thought that the place that they chose to cut it in half was a little weird. This is
that's
my one complaint with the movie is that the ending felt a little anticlimactic, but I get that you want to have him reach the Fremen and introduce Chani in the first movie because otherwise it's a little weird if he just sees her in his dreams and then she doesn't show up until the second movie. Like you're supposed to like build a
yeah,
romance between those two.
yeah, for
Um,
sure. Like the
but
the
it did,
arc of the first movie was basically he's having visions. What are they about? Oh, this is basically what they're about. And it will
yeah,
develop further in the next half of the book, but that was
yeah,
kind of the arc that tied that movie together.
for sure. It did feel a little weird to kind of do this whole big like, oh, the Harkonnens, they've been betrayed by the Imperium and the Harkonnens have attacked. Spoilers again for Dune if you haven't,
Oh yeah, we warned them.
you know, the Harkonnens are attacking and they're killing off the Atreides, and Lady Jessica and Paul are on the run, and they get to the Fremen safe house or whatever, and the Imperium soldiers and the Harkonnen soldiers show up again, and then they gotta run away, and they gotta fly into the sandstorm to escape, and then they crash, and it's like, oh, that seems like a really good place, and then they meet the Fremen. It seems like, okay, that seems like a good place to leave the movie. They crash their gyrocopter thing, and they gotta run from the worm,
Mm-hmm.
which like the worm in fucking
Oh my gosh.
it looks so good.
It looked amazing. And that was again like the sound design was blowing me away.
Mm-hmm.
It was it was so lush.
So, um, that would have been like a really good place to end it, which is like, okay, they've been rescued by the Fremen. You know, it's done. But then it's like, what if we just spend another 20 minutes, or that one of the Fremen's real upset about them being there, and they got to have a knife fight about it. And it's like, maybe you could have opened the next movie with it, but then again, I think it's just because they wanted to introduce Chani, and have her, give him the sword or the knife, whatever, made out of the tooth of Shai Halud.
The Chris knife.
Yeah, the Chris knife. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So whatever, doesn't matter. Dune Part 2 is happening. Get ready for it.
For sure. Honestly, I didn't know that it was only going to be the first half of the book, and having seen Dune a bunch of times, like I knew that there was still so much movie, and so then when it ended, my reaction was like, no.
Yeah,
but
there's so much going on, man. He's got to learn the weirding way. He's got to become Muad'Dib.
Yep. Honestly,
which
though,
they introduced the sand shrew a couple of times, though.
Yeah, he's a little cutie.
Yeah. So he's gonna be like, I want to be named after the sand shrew, and they're like, all right, Muad'Dib.
Okay, you want to be named after a Pokemon? That's fine.
Yeah, cool. It is a Pokemon, isn't it? Wow.
Yep.
But it is it's a shrew though, isn't it?
It's kind of a mouse. It's like a desert mouse.
A mouse. Wasn't a mouse kind of a shrew, or a shrew kind of a mouse?
Well, kind of. I don't know.
They're all rodents. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I loved Dune. Also, I'm very, very, very pumped on seeing more Dune, and I hope they keep making Dune movies after they finish the first book, because no one's really done that. There's like a bad miniseries version of
Children of
Dune. Yeah.
Yep. I think I remember starting to watch that as a kid and losing interest.
James McAvoy's in it, I think.
Oh, really?
I think he plays Paul. Or
interesting.
Paul's son. I can't remember who's in. Messiah of Dune is still, or Dune Messiah is still Paul Atreides and Johnny. I think 3 might pick up with their children. Anyways, doesn't matter. I haven't read those books in a long time. Yeah, I'm stoked. I want a whole Dune franchise, baby.
Oh, I'd be so on board.
Go all the way up to Chapter House, and then cut it off. Don't do any of the sequels or prequels or anything that his son wrote. No one cares about that.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, Frank Herbert's son has just been like cashing in on Dune by just writing hundreds of Dune books with like another ghostwriter kind of guy.
Oh.
Kevin J. Anderson, I think. It's like the guy that wrote like some of the Warcraft novels and like.
Oh, okay.
I think he wrote like a Star Wars novel and like. Though that kind of author, he's just the guy that's like, oh, you got a thing that already exists. You want to write a book about it to make some cash,
right?
So they've just been churning out Dune books left and right.
But
yeah. Anyways, now let's get into it.
Shall.
We watched Arena.
On the edge of our galaxy, there is a battleground where alien warriors compete for the ultimate prize. I am champion!
Will a human do battle in the arena? Now where is the challenger?
Where humans have lost.
You ever thought about the arena, Steve?
It ain't gonna work. This guy's a human.
What it takes to win.
You're talking about arena fighting. It's not for me.
For you.
You've got speed, you got muscle.
You could go right to the top. You're going to work for me. Nobody tells me what to do.
Someone tried to poison him.
Sorry, kid, but I'm afraid your fighting days are over.
He's not gonna get away with this. The fight is between me and Rogor.
You can win this fight.
He won't beat
Now we kill him.
Arena.
We watched Arena, which is a movie from 1989. And it takes place on a space station where there are fights between cybernetically enhanced aliens, and no humans ever compete until now.
Or like there used to be human competitors, but they're
But they
not able to keep up
died.
anymore.
Yeah, I think it was like became too dangerous for humans to compete, even though they have these like things that create a handicap to put both fighters on an even playing field, which is just a beam
Yeah,
of light that
that's
shines on you.
kind of a plot hole, isn't it?
It is a bit of a plot hole, and we'll get to the others when we. Yeah. I don't know if there's that many plot holes in this actually, because honestly, the plot is pretty thin.
That's fair, yeah.
It's basic, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like our hero, Steve Armstrong,
Great
lives
name.
on this space station and works in a kitchen with his best mate Shorty, who is basically the chef character from the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yep, pretty much.
In that he's a four-armed chef who is short and fat.
Mm-hmm.
That is his character, basically.
Yep.
And he has a gambling problem. That's his.
Oh, yeah, that does come up. Yeah,
That's his defining character trait. So anyways, they're pals, I guess, and Steve gets in a fight at work one day with like a fishman alien.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember why.
I don't really remember why either. I feel like
I feel like he was mouthing off to Shorty, and then Shorty said something about like, "Oh, I gotta go get my rod and pole" or something like that. Made some sort of fishing joke, and then I think the alien started trashing the place.
Oh yeah.
Again,
So,
we
like,
watched.
last time I saw a face like that was on the end of a hook or something like
That's
that.
what it was. Yeah.
Wish.
We watched this a week ago.
Yeah.
With intermittent breaks to stop the flooding happening in your basement. So forgive us if we're a little thin on the plot, but also the plot was a little thin, so I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And anyways, he kicks the crap out of this fish man, and turns out that he was one of the like star fighters for Quinn, who's a fight manager, and she. It opens with a fight between a Horn and an alien called Spinner, and Quinn's the manager of Spinner, and Spinner gets the shit kicked out of him.
Oh yeah, doesn't do well.
No, and he's like a cyborg dinosaur type alien, and he's like got sparks shooting out of him, and he's on fire at one point, and
Yeah.
yeah, basically they send some heavies to go beat up the guy that just beat up her fight champion, and what does he do? He beats them up. And she's like, "You're a good fighter. You should fight for me." And he's like, "Hell no, baby. I don't go in for that kind of crap. I wanted to, but now I just cook and live in the sewer with my friend."
Yeah, he was a contender on Earth and like went to some championships and is a fighter, which is how
He's
he was
Marlon
able to kick
Brando.
the fish guy's ass. But like
On the waterfront, he could have been a contender.
Yeah, he could have been a contender, but then he hated the game. Like he came to the space station, I think it comes up, and saw what the fights were now and how they're all bad. I guess I don't remember.
Cyborg alien fights. Yeah, I don't know. He had a problem with it. He's like, not enough people are just wearing a plastic diaper with some shoulder pads and punching each other, and that's the kind of fighting I want to do, honey. So you can take your offer and shove it. And then Rogor, the bad guy who owns
actually
the
does like
casino.
a pretty good job, I gotta say. It was a pretty good villain.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, he's good. He's a good villain.
He's got really kind of slimy gravitas to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's like really like creepy intensity. Wow, it was good.
Like you wouldn't want to hang out with him ever, and that's why he works as a villain.
Yep.
Because he's just gross. But so, anyways, he's the manager of Horn, who's like the number one seed, I guess.
Mm-hmm. He's the champion.
He's the champion, the reigning champion, and what's his Shorty? stole some money from Rogor without realizing he stole some money from Rogor.
Rogor. Think
Ro-
Rogaine or Rogor.
Rogor. Okay.
There you go.
To help you grow hair down there.
Whoop.
I don't know. And he's like, we're gonna cut off his fingers unless you pay us back the money, and he's got twice as many fingers as the normal man, so we're gonna be cutting off a lot. And
Yeah, I remember saying he had like 12 hours, and then they were gonna cut off a finger every hour.
yeah,
And then I was like, oh, but he has 4 hands. That's a lot
Yeah.
of time.
that's so you got 12 hours, and then they're gonna start cutting off fingers. So that's 20 hours because he's got 4 hands. So you've got like 32 hours to get the money.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not a bad deal, actually. Kind of
Yeah.
a fair villain.
True.
Yeah.
Unless you're shorty, in which case then you probably wouldn't be very up on that deal. But
Yeah, but even when he's being held captive, he's playing cards with the guy who's like holding him captive, and he's winning.
oh yeah, that's
He's
right.
like taking his money. He's like, we might not even need to wait for the kid to get back. I might just clean you out and pay off my debt right here.
That's good.
So anyways, then he goes to Quinn and he's like, hey, Dr. Quinn, medicine woman, I changed my mind. I'm back in to fight. And she's like, great. Get your diaper on. You're going in.
Yeah, and I guess he asks for an advance or something like that. 'Cause
yeah, he does, because he
just
goes.
goes to Quinn, signs up for fighting, and then comes back and frees Shorty by dropping a fat stack of cash on Rogor's desk.
Yeah,
and
he shows up and he makes it
Rogor's
rain.
like, that was like an hour. You should come work for me.
Yeah, he's like, you got 40,000 credits in an hour. You want a job? And he's like, no, I got a job. I'm fighting now.
That's right.
And that was a bit weird in terms of like plotting. It's like, oh, that tension was relieved very quickly.
Yeah.
In the span of about 5 minutes, you're like, oh, I hope Shorty doesn't lose too many fingers, to like, oh, no, actually, no, he's fine.
Yeah, he's totally fine.
He's gonna
That
be
was
fine.
just that was how he was gonna sign up for fighting, because he didn't want to at first. He's the reluctant hero.
He's the reluctant hero. So he straps on his diaper and his hockey pads, and he
Oh, yeah.
jumps in the ring, and he's like, who am I fighting? And they're like, that slug over there.
That slug
And-
with like grasshopper legs.
Grasshopper legs and like pointy nipples.
Ooh, the pointiest nipples.
There's
At
like
least 6 of them.
giant spikes sticking out of its nipples.
Which never
And,
came into play. I was disappointed. Like someone in the costume department made a very bold choice to make extremely pointy nipples, and like
It's
the
Chekhov's
script-
nipple spikes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is.
You're gonna put spiky nipples on your alien in the first act. They better spike someone in the third act, or else what are you doing?
Yeah.
So that was
the first big
shitty
disappointment of the
filmmaking.
movie.
Oh, we should say that this is actually, coincidentally, this is the second Erwin Yablon's joint in a row. 'Cause he was also the producer on Halloween 3 and the original Halloween.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Interesting.
So yeah, this was like, he had a short-lived career, and this was like near the tail end of it. But he was like a guy in the 80s making shit at some point.
Yeah. Good for him, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's kind of just a fun fact, but the same guy that produced Halloween, the immortal classic Halloween, also produced this shit.
Yep.
Which I don't even know if I'd call it shit, because like overall, I think there's actually some decent takeaways in this movie. The makeup and special effects look pretty good.
Actually, yeah, like it
have-
looked old for sure, you know.
Oh yeah, but like if
it's
you compare it
it's
to
from, what was it, 80,
89,
89? Yeah, and it
Well,
felt like it.
yeah, but like you compare it to other, things of that era, other sci-fi crap that we've watched on this show that came out, around the same time, it looks better than that.
True, very true. But yeah, let's finish off the plot before we recap our feelings.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of plot left, honestly. He fights the slug
Yeah.
monster, and then they're like, "Oh, you can fight, Diaper Man. Why don't you keep fighting in that diaper?" And
Yeah.
he does, and he's like working his way up the. Basically, it's just a montage. He punches his way up the table, and they're like, he's gotta have a shot at the title. And Rogor's like, damn, I must interfere with him through sex. And so he sends.
That is what happens.
It is what happens. There's this lounge singer that they've been seeing, singing on a hologram, which, like, again, Star Wars Holiday Special vibes.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, very reminiscent of the Jefferson Starship bit in the Star Wars Holiday Special.
First thing I thought of. It was bad.
So, one callback to the Star Wars Holiday Special, coincidence. 2, I think not. Someone was a fan.
Yablonsky.
Yeah.
However you say
Yablons. Erwin Yablons. So yeah, he's gonna fight Horn, and Rogor's like calls up his lounge singer, and he's like, "Hey baby, you need to go seduce Armstrong there, and make sure that he doesn't win. Tire him out."
What was her name again? That character? It was something like
Jade.
Right. Jade was the singer.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and she had great hair. Like,
Hair, yeah. She had great hair.
just the most volume of that
She had
kind
the
of, like,
most hair. it's
80s
true.
frizz that was just on point. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, so she seduces him, and they make love
With
all
no
night.
effort at all, by the way.
With no effort at all. She
Steve
basically
was
rocks
super
up.
into it.
Yeah, because he's a straight white man in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, sex, and he's like, yes, please.
Yep. That was it.
And I'm like, okay, all right, they're doing the Rocky thing, like women weaken legs, no sex the night before the fight kind of thing. And I'm like, that's great. But then also she just poisons him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you could have just
It's
done
called double
that before.
tapping.
Double tapping. Gross. But she could have just poisoned him before having sex with him.
That's true.
But, he's a fit man. He's kind of handsome. His jawline is pretty angular.
Rather.
Maybe she was into it. I don't know.
Oh, she defos was. Like, she was on board, and later Rogor is like, I think you're developing feelings for that boy. And she's like, no, I'm not. But
I don't have feelings for him, but if he won the fight and wanted to take me out to dinner and we wouldn't get married and have 5 kids, I wouldn't say no.
yeah. That's basically the vibe.
It's basically yeah. But I don't have feelings.
But yeah, so he's poisoned as hell, which comes across
Yeah.
as him being just extremely drunk.
Yeah, he plays it very drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm ready to fight. Get me on the arena. Put on my diaper.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, diaper, I'll fight Horn. I'll fight anyway. I'll fight all 12 of you fuckers.
And
And
Quinn is
then
like,
they're
oh
like-
boy.
Yeah. What did you get up to last night? He's like, none of your business. That's my private business, sweetheart. And she's like, okay, all right, you fucked the singer. Great.
Yeah, she figures that out instantly. And she's like, do you know who that singer works for? It's Rogor, in case you didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Also, women weaken legs. She's the Mickey character.
Clearly.
That would have been better, actually, if she was really, really grizzled and just yelled at him a lot.
I would like that. She was very gruff
Yeah.
for a lot of the movie.
She was like,
but,
don't
yeah.
go hanging around the lounge singer. You gotta fight tomorrow. That would have been great.
Yeah, I would have been on board for that, for sure.
But anyways, yeah, so they shoot him up with some anti-drug.
Yep.
And they're like, is he going to be fine, Doc? And he's like, well, he's not going to be 100%, and I'm not taking responsibility if he dies.
Yeah.
And the fight commissioner's like, great, we can have the fight.
Yep.
So yeah, they start the fight, but then also Rogor has uh, commissioned his lackey, Weasel, to mess with the handicap at some point during the fight. Like he's like, we need the fight to go on long enough so that it looks, like it could be going somewhere, and then maybe in the third round or whatever, just start to increase the handicap on Armstrong there, so that he can't win, and then Horn beats him. And I think that's what he was also doing. There was something in the first fight he was doing the same thing, but we didn't quite know what was going on at that point.
No, I think that was just us seeing the lights. That was like, that's the handicap being in place, because there's another character
No, but
named
but
like
he does that thing where he like calls up Weasel, like, Weasel, do it. He's like, okay.
Weasel went and like injected someone with something. He drugged someone.
Oh, is that what he did? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it was Horn.
establishes
Actually. I
that
think he just went and like gave Horn a stim or something like that.
Oh, okay. So he just like gave him just boosted him.
Yeah, because
Okay.
there's another character. I think their name is Brain, and their head is all fucked
Oh,
up and
yeah.
cybernetic, and they're from Shorty's neck of the woods. And it's actually Brain who comes to Weasel, and then Weasel brings it to Rogor of being like, "Hey, we think we could hack in to the handicap system." And
Right.
Rogor's like, "No one's ever been able to do that. That's extremely risky. I don't want to get busted for this shit. Don't do it. That's a dumb idea." And then only when Steve Armstrong, after being drugged, shows up in the fight, and he looks at Jade and is like, "You didn't do your fucking job."
Yeah.
Then he calls Weasel and is like, "Do it."
Yeah. You should have banged him more.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should have triple tapped.
But and she's like, I will when he becomes champion. Maybe if he wants to. I don't know. I don't even care that much.
So then
So-
Brain and Weasel go up, and
That's
Brain is
right.
like plugging the system into their skull because they've got weird cybernetic stuff going on.
Yeah.
And Weasel
Which
is like dealing with some electric shit.
Yeah, and they're like increasing the handicap, so it's harder for Steve to fight, right? He's like, I feel like I got no energy out there. I'm dying out there, man.
Yeah. Which again,
then-
like if there's this handicap thing that makes it so that every fight is even, why was it that humans suddenly were unable to keep up? Like
Yeah, I don't know. Especially
it should
since
be
there's
that
like
anyone can fight Horn on equal footing. That should be what happens with this
if
handicap idea.
Yeah, if the handicap is working properly. But then also like, why do the fighters need to have like cybernetic enhancements? Because like they don't come into play, really. Like it's not like anyone's got like a buzzsaw for a hand or anything like that, or like laser eyes or nipples or anything like that.
Yeah, I know. It's just straight up boxing.
It's pretty much it's just like kind of bad boxing.
Yeah,
is what
that's all
happens.
it is.
Right? So it's like, yeah, no, humans should be able to compete on equal footing with any alien if this magical handicap technology is working the way it is supposed to or says it is. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the big like flaw of logic in the plot.
Yeah, for sure.
But Shorty goes and busts up Weasel and Brain, which leads to one of the best head explosions. It's a fantastic head explosion, and all the power just surges back down the cables into Brain's brain, I guess, and just like explodes the computer in their head, and
Brain's brain gets brained.
yeah, there's just brains all over the place. And then Steve Armstrong does the win. He does the fight and they win.
Yep. All of a sudden, his energies come back to him and punches and kicks the crap out of Horn.
Yeah.
Becomes champion.
And then Rogor's like, drat.
Yep. And then Jade just like gets up and walks away from Rogor, and Rogor was like, "Come back to me." And she's like, "No."
He's like, no, I'm gonna go say hi to Steve, and if he wants to take me out to dinner and make me his wife, like whatever, that's fine, I guess. It's cool.
And then so then she's obviously into Steve, and is obviously like remorseful for having like poisoned him.
Yeah.
And so she walks out onto the stage, or into the arena or whatever as they're celebrating, and is like, Steve! And Steve turns and looks, and Quinn turns and looks, and she's there. And instead of exchanging any words, Quinn walks up to her and punches her out. And then they just go off together.
Yep.
And I'm like I get it, but it felt really mean to me.
It did feel a bit mean, yeah.
Like, it would have been a lot nicer if there was like a redemption for her where she's like, I'm really sorry. Like, I am filled with regret and I'm into you. And he could have been like, either like, okay, well, let's work on it, or no, I can't forgive you. But instead, Quinn, who's not a part of this relationship, goes and punches him out. And it's kind of implied that it's because Quinn is into Armstrong.
Yeah,
And,
even though
like,
they have no chemistry.
None at all. And it's like, oh, it's like, oh, he fell for the bad girl, so now he's going to be with the good girl, but the good girl is also kind of bad, and like punches her out, and then they're going to be happily ever after. But like, it's not explored or explained,
No.
and so it just felt really mean.
Like, he had more chemistry with Jade, honestly, but like,
Oh yeah,
even then, not a lot. But
I mean, he didn't really have a lot of chemistry with anyone.
no,
He
kinda
was
with Shorty.
That's true. He does have some good Shorty moments. Maybe they should have ended up together. Actually,
They're buds. That would have been cute.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
That's
the movie
Arena.
didn't end. The movie didn't end on an awesome freeze frame, even though it really deserved to.
Yeah.
Freeze frame of Steve getting hoisted up in the air with his hands way up in his diaper. Going like, yeah, and then the credits just roll right over top of that cod piece.
Yeah, we were hoping for it, but
Didn't happen, unfortunately. But
there was a
yeah.
really good like sports commentator that had some
Oh,
good
yeah.
lines. And the movie did end with that sports commentator. So at least it was still
The
pretty
sports
good.
commentator was good. He was funny.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like this movie.
I mean, honestly, I kind of did too. I don't think it deserves a one big pile of shit rating.
No, not at all.
Because it was, yeah, like kind of fun. And so I'm stuck because like it was it.
I would put
just
this
a
on with
good
my
movie?
friends.
Or because we didn't like the parts that were good weren't because it was so bad, but also it wasn't a good movie. So which of our two remaining ratings is it really meant to have?
For me, I'm going to say this is craptacular.
It's craptacular.
I think if you put this on with a group of friends and you crack open some bevies and you sit around and laugh at it and make fun of it as you're watching it, I think it would be a really good time.
Yeah, and that's what a craptacular movie's all about, right there.
Yeah. Like, it's not like Galaxy Invader level craptacular where you're like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening on this screen? This is bonkers. But it's like, this movie is like dumb and goofy, and like we can laugh at it and not be, like, it's not, no one in their right mind would ever say this movie is a good movie.
Yeah, that's true. You can't say that about Arena.
You can't say that it is like objectively a good movie, but you could definitely get a lot of entertainment out of it watching it.
Yeah,
and making fun of it with your friends.
It was fun, for sure. Yeah,
it's very inoffensive in a lot of ways, I'd say. It's like,
yeah,
like, it's not horrible. It's not so, I guess it is so bad that it's good, but even then it's on like the very like, it's like the family friendly so bad it's good. I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like craptacular light.
Yeah.
Diet craptacular.
I was just about to say it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Arena. What a fun little romp. I think anything else we want to talk about this film? Anything else you wanted to bring
we
up?
should
I think that was all
guess the Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yes, we gotta read the Rotten Tomatoes. That's my bad. That's me being.
Yeah, so this was 89 and
1989. Let me see if it's on.
kind of inoffensive.
Ooh, okay. So I'll tell you right up top, there is not enough reviews on Rotten Tomatoes to have a tomato meter score. There's only one reviews.
Oh,
What it says.
One reviews.
It is a one review. It is a fresh review. It says, "I guarantee a good time going into this Star Wars clone." Not accurate, but okay. But there is
Yeah,
an
that doesn't
audience
sound right.
score. So if you want to guess the audience score,
Okay, audience score. I feel like given the time it came out, it probably wouldn't have been that well received, and we're just kind of laughing at it because it's a stupid old movie. So I'm gonna guess.
you got to guess audience score though is like since the internet has existed, people have been rating this movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay,
That's
fair.
That's the audience.
I still,
score. Yeah,
I feel like it'll be less than 50 though. So
it is less than 50. So.
okay, cool. I'm gonna guess like 40.
You want to have one more guess? A little bit lower.
32.
33.
33. Ooh, that was really close.
You're so close.
33. Well, we enjoyed it.
33%
We enjoyed
audience.
it more than that, but oh well.
Oh, definitely. This is like a 55 in my books.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah. So yeah, that was Arena. It was kind of fun.
Yeah. I wish that we could submit Rotten Tomato scores so that we could, whenever we find these ones that don't have enough reviews for a score, we could add ours.
I wonder if we could get certified. I wonder if we have enough episodes that we could get Rotten Tomatoes certified.
We should look into that. That'd be fun.
We should look into that. Anyways, yeah, we have a VHS tape of this movie that
Heck yeah.
I'm probably gonna throw up on our Etsy shop, the
That
Retro
was-
Shoptacular.
Yes, I love that name. Honestly, it was like good quality too. We were
Really good
surprised.
It's fun. It has a. I got it right here. It's got a sticker on it. It's an old rental copy, so I wasn't expecting a lot. But it's got a sticker on here that says "A Diamond in the Rough," so I think they're trying to go like, "Hey, you should rent this. It's actually not bad."
Yeah, it's
And
like
no one did.
the staff pick sticker
Yeah,
clearly didn't work.
from Colossal Video in Welland, Ontario.
Wow.
Things traveled across the country.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, the other nice thing about this movie, 97 minutes long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tight.
Very tight. Yeah. So it's like a diamond in the rough. And it's like, okay, so, no one rented this tape. This is like, I think there was like one little skip in it where like the picture kind of went whoop for like 1 second.
Yep.
Like other than that, tracked perfectly, looked pretty clean.
Yeah, that was good.
We're gonna throw it up on the shop. People can buy it there if they want it. One lucky listener can buy it there if they want it. Is that the show? I think that's the show.
I think that's the show.
All right, we will be back next month with our Christmas episode. Oh no, sorry, we got to do. We got to do. That's not the show. We got to do. We had another listener question this week. If you want to submit a question, hit us up at retrocrappod@gmail.com. This one comes from Cassie. Cassie doesn't say where she's from. But it says, "Is there a movie you've watched that you wish you could unsee?" And that's it. Cassie, I wish you had let us know if there was a movie that you wished you could unsee.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. Yeah.
Hit us
I
back
like
up.
when-
Let us know your answer.
Yeah. Shoot us back another one. I like when people answer their own questions. I have one. I mean, there's probably a few on this podcast that I've just, in my mind, I've just unseen. But like the one that came to mind, and like maybe this is like a cheap answer, I don't know, but the one that came to mind immediately was The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh. I bet like you can't not have seen it is the thing, because it's the
I know.
right.
I know.
I mean,
there's some other, like, there are movies that we have done that have been like obliterated from my mind completely. Like in terms of this, like they did not register at all. Like I'm looking through here, The Forbidden World. Don't remember anything about that movie. I think maybe that was the one where someone's about to get murdered by an alien, and then it keeps cutting back to like a flashback of them having sex.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe that was something else I watched.
Was that just a dream you had last night? Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was my dream last night. What like? There's like movies we watched like not that long ago, like
Honestly,
Battlefield Earth. I barely remember what happens in Battlefield Earth.
I remember that one pretty vividly. It was terrible.
Like I remember John Travolta travolting about,
Yep, that was most of the movie.
and I remember that the guy that's like the main character is super boring.
Oh yeah, not a character.
I don't know. Yeah, movies I wish I could unsee.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
As far as our own podcast goes, the one that I would put at the top of like ones I could forget, it's gonna be Hollow Man.
oh yes, Hollow Man is
um
fucking bad.
We've talked about it so much on this podcast,
Yeah.
and all those Hollow Man fans that want to trash our YouTube comment section, screw you. It's a terrible movie.
Oh yeah, it's like our most viewed episode on YouTube, and it's all people being like, "Fuck you, this movie's great."
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
Paul Verhoeven has made so many better movies. Go watch RoboCop, you dicks.
But I do actually have a story of a movie that I wish that I had never seen. That I saw as a kid.
Okay.
And for a very long time, as in like 20 years, I have been scarred by one scene of a movie that I never knew what the movie was until last week when I discovered what the movie actually was.
Okay. I'm intrigued now. You have my attention.
As a kid, there was a movie on TV. I don't think I watched all of it because I ran away, but there was some sort of goblin-like creature that had, with the use of some sort of magic, wrapped up a girl in like a burlap sack, and she fell onto a table, and he said something along the lines of, "You'll be having my wee ones," as he used his claw to start tearing open the burlap sack and her clothes at the same time. I've been scarred by that ever since. It was horrifying. Last week, I'm on Prime Video looking for a movie that I want to watch that evening, and I come across a long series of movies, and I recognize the face on the cover as that goblin creature.
Is it Leprechaun?
It was Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Specifically, Leprechaun 2 is where
Leprechaun
this scene
2,
comes
okay.
from. And
I don't think
like,
I've seen Leprechaun 2.
I've never seen Leprechaun 1, but apparently I've seen Leprechaun 2, and it scarred me, and I wish that I never had. It was really, really disturbing.
Ugh. I've seen Leprechaun 1, and I've seen Leprechaun in Space, and Leprechaun in the Hood.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. But I just thought of a movie, actually, while
Oh.
you were telling that story that I wish I could unsee. I mean, like, Rise of Skywalker is maybe a movie I wish didn't exist.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I gotcha.
But a movie that I wish I'd never seen and also wish I'd, didn't exist is there's a movie came out. It stars Danny McBride and James Franco, and Natalie Portman somehow got dragged into this. I don't know how. Maybe she had to pay off some back taxes and just did this movie but it's called Your Highness.
Your Highness.
And it's directed by David Gordon Green, who directed like the new Halloween movies and All the Real Girls and George Washington, and Prince Avalanche. Like, he's done some really good like indie movies, but he had this like weird period in his career where he was doing these like big studio comedies, like The Babysitter with Jonah Hill and like stuff like that. And he was just doing these like stupid comedies. And this was like this medieval fantasy movie. Starring Danny McBride. It's like a stoner medieval fantasy movie.
A stoner medieval fantasy movie.
It's so awful. I actually never finished it.
Wow.
I walked out of the theater.
Ooh, it was one of those.
And walked into another theater. And just watched something. I was like, what's playing now? Insidious? Sure, I'm gonna go see that. And I just like walked into that theater and caught the last half of Insidious. Because I was like, this movie, I made it like 20 minutes in.
Wow, that's brutal.
It's atrocious. So, anyways, yeah, Your Highness is my answer. Cassie, thank you for your question. I'd love to know if
Yeah.
there's a movie that inspired you to ask that question. So yeah, other than that, I think that is the show.
I think we did it.
All right. If you want to get in touch with the show, like we said, retrocrappod@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can go to linktr.ee/retrocrappod. All of our links are there. The link to the Abbotsford Disaster Relief Fund is there. If you can help out, that would be great. We have a Patreon that has some fun, commentary tracks and a couple bonus episodes and things like that on there. If you want to subscribe, I think it's pretty. I can't remember what it's like. $3 a month. It's pretty cheap.
I don't remember.
Other than that, yeah. Other than that, I think that is the show. We will be back with our Christmas episode next month. We are watching Elves, which is a movie that stars Grizzly Adams fighting Nazis who make weird little elf creatures. So Nazi Christmas elf versus Grizzly
boy.
Adams next month.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Can't wait. And until next time, keep watching crap. Did I get everything?
Yeah, that was everything.
That was everything. Sick. Yeah, that's like a tightest extra ever.